Get that out of the way. Uh, Water ReNu, talk through it. And also, there will be some videos playing on the right-hand side, just to give you an idea of some of the content we're doing now. But to give you a history, I started in Greywater in about 2022. That's a picture of me. That was last week down in off Port Aransas, south coast of Texas. So in 2002, I sort of fell into it and started producing systems, believe it or not. They used hoses. You can go out and spray grey water. This is different in Australia. It breaks codes, but in Australia, the droughts are so bad you can do that. Oh, let me start my timer. I've got to try and stay on track here. 2005, Netafim actually approached me and started having me work with their foam filters and drip lines. 2009, we started having issues with clients who were saying they were manually cleaning their filters and then call us out to replace their pumps because they weren't cleaning them. So I actually moved to the US in 2011, started doing computerized control systems based on Android. We changed that to Raspberry Pi, far more flexible for 24/7 industrial use. 2022, we started looking into having proper electrical current consumption. That means we measure how much power every device uses in our manufactured systems. That includes zone valves, as an example. We're at the stage now where we can predict a valve will fail before it fails. 2024, we started getting quite a large number of inquiries from builders, and since then we have purposely kept quiet. There are a number of pain points for us. One was volume production. We make our own electronics. And also just setting up templates for manufacturing. And we'll get to a point right at the end where we talk about digital content, which is a pain point. That's actually raised here, 2025, conceptual and training guides. Biggest problem as a quick intro is no one reads documents anymore. That's a problem when you're dealing with electricians and plumbers. Not so much irrigators. Well, that line. Water ReNu itself, I'm a co-owner. We have 10 people in the company now. And as I said, we've been keeping on the down low and making sure we have everything ready for volume. Okay. First thing is, well, what is our design philosophy? Way back in Australia, I had many retrofit installations, and it took too much expertise to replicate myself. So I decided to design a system that could be rolled out, and as long as people followed some basic rules, you didn't need too much knowledge. What we have on the right, top right here is a basic overview of the basin. It's not very large, fits in the ground. It's actually a two-stage install for new construction. We'll get to that in a minute. But I wanted to show at the bottom that we also have variations, for example, multifamily. So this is an example. We have 4-inch plumbing. It can't fit inside the basin, so it has to fit outside. Therefore, we have wall filter assemblies and the controller. Just to explain very quickly, when the grey water comes in from the left here, its natural path is into the basin. If the valve is shut or the basin, for whatever reason, is not being processed, there is a flow-through path through to overflow. This meets all codes, and you can see on the right-hand side here, sorry, I should be using the laser pointer. So when the grey water comes in, if it can't go into the basin, it will naturally elevate over the hill and continue on to the sewer. So we also wanted to make sure that what people get for residential is the same as what we give to large multifamily and hotel laundries. It's modular. The other thing is we have many distant customers from our office. We have customers across the US, and they may or may not have good contractors available, especially in small towns. So we've designed it in such a way that anyone can replace the part within usually 10 minutes, and you don't need special tools. Next point is to talk about permitting. So the design does meet all codes, realistic codes. I'm not sure of any that doesn't at the moment. The biggest challenge we get is sometimes dealing with customers in a county who have never had, or that county's never had an installation before of any type. So we provide that service to our clients. A classic example was County of San Diego. They misinterpreted California codes, put a comma in the wrong spot when they copied it. It did take 3 weeks, but we managed to convince them that they had made an error. No charge for that on behalf of our clients because it opens up the market for our system. We prefer contractors do their own permitting documents, but we would supply all of the boilerplate. And a classic example of this is there's a nonsensical code requiring, basically, I can't think of the word, soil flow rate tests. Can't think of it. Anyway, um, in this case, we provide texting and or text and also calculations for them so that you can prove that there's no way to fail the test. So therefore, you don't have to spend $500 doing it in the first place. Here's the actual system. It's comprised of two parts. So the top part is the basically the filter, which is fully automated. It doesn't have any consumables. It has a brush inside such that when it needs to clean itself, basically we activate that with a servo motor. We use pressure sensors. Can't really see them here. You'll see it later. We have two water valves that control the flow, whether the water is going to sewer or out to irrigation. The bottom half, let me get the text out. All right. The other point I'll point out for the top half is we do have an air gap potable water supply for makeup water. This means there isn't an RPZ required on this system anywhere in the country. But the bottom half is 3-inch plumbing overflow. I talked about that overflow path around there. We have a gate valve so you can shut it off according to code. If the basin needs to be deeper, you just put in extra 12-inch risers, about that size. As I said before, for multifamily and some hotel laundries, not really necessary for those, but multifamily, you can have a system design where it sits in the utility room. It's a little easier. The other thing is that the pump module here has an outlet tube that constantly stirs the bottom whenever the pump runs, so you don't get sediment buildup. I was down in Cinnamon Shore last week, which is near Port Aransas. Very nice development. The reason they're doing it is that there is a NIMBY situation down there. There is not enough water for new developments. These houses are reasonably expensive and they do want landscape. So they're basically forced to investigate greywater. We're expecting probably between 30 to 50 systems a year from this one housing development. Starting at the top, this shows how when the systems or when the house is first roughed in, the plumber actually installs the basin bottom. It has a wooden protector. There's an exposed pipe, but it's protected. They dig that up, then they will put the filter top onto that. We don't have time to watch every one of these play. I can cause them to play. Once the top is on, they just tighten the fittings. They then drop the pump in because we don't want the pump there during the house construction. It's, don't want it damaged. And then they're finished. They're basically onto, if they want to, adding a click, adding a water hammer arrestor. This can be an issue. It's optional. They can supply it themselves. When makeup water is added, the valve can add it with a bit of a shutter. The other thing that we found, this is a learning thing for us, it took us 12 years to get to this point. As I said, every part in the system can easily be swapped out. However, we used to have our connection panel on the inside of the basin, and as much as we had stainless steel fittings, waterproof, marine grade, we would still get corrosive gases coming inside the circuit board area. So we, in the last year, we have actually gone to external placement of that connection panel. How are we going to time? 8 and I'm on 7. Okay. Big shout out to Jeremy and Richard and Derek from 007 down there. They were being trained by me and they allowed us to do videography. So what we're seeing in the top right corner is fairly quickly after the basin, we shift from 1-inch PVC to actually 3/4 inch poly. This is a huge benefit for irrigation. Even in non-irrigation areas, you normally have to bury your PVC down 6 inches. With polytube as a distribution line after the zone valve, you now only have to bury that an inch or two. It's also much cheaper and much easier to work with. Once they've got the distribution line out, then to connect a drip line, all they're really doing is pushing a fitting in. This is called a takeoff fitting. And you'll see Richard here is about to just punch a hole in the poly. I keep watching that while I talk. He's doing that so we can't really see him do it. He does one more there. On our pictures in the bottom left, this is showing just loose layout of drip line. We have usually black drip line for beds. It's 1 gallon per hour and located every 6 inches. This is just loosely laid because they are going to come back and put weed mat underneath and mulch. Being a sandy area, we're more concerned with trying to retain moisture permanently rather than having it just fall through the sand. Okay, here's the controller itself. Time 10, I'm 2 minute and a half behind. So what the controller does is it takes live weather, or basically weather from yesterday, from state agricultural resources, and it calculates today's amount of irrigation based on what the weather was yesterday. Because with daily irrigation, it doesn't really matter if you're a day behind. It doesn't just do Greywater, it does makeup water, it does new planting modules, so that if you're adding new plants, obviously you need more water initially, particularly sod, lawns, they might need 2 to 3 times as much water for the first month. It does manage potable spray as well in an optimized method. An interesting one is Greywater dispersal. So if you have a property out in the country, you have a septic, instead of having all of the Greywater go to septic in winter, which might cause a pump out cost, instead you just have what we call a dispersal or disposal zone in irrigation, which is just to benefit or just for winter use. It's touch screen, but however, I will say it is programmed via the web. Programming via the touchscreen would be just too complicated. So that's the controller itself. Yeah, and as mentioned before, we have electrical diagnostics. It has Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and if Ethernet is offline or internet's offline, it does do online data storage. The biggest thing we had to deal with over the years is not about Greywater being reliable, it's about whether potable water or power is reliable in the first place. So a lot of effort went into that. We can handle disruptions very well. So I'll skip through. This is a very quick view of how the system's programmed. In the top left, we basically say you set up where the system is, which weather stations you want to use. You have all sorts of settings about whether you want to use too much Greywater. There's freeze impacts for colder climates. Programs. On the right, we have charts that go from day, week, month, right down to here. You can actually see what's happening minute by minute in a system. So this all comes through to our server. Probably the quick one to explain here is when you're setting up a zone, all you're doing is giving it a name, a surface area, and an average plant type. And then you set the plant densities. So there's nothing about minutes here. The system calculates everything automatically. Yeah, that's a mistake in the presentation. This is for the people that love to say, well, prove that's been working for a long time. Laura told me this back in 2008, I think it was. So we love showing these photos. This is when these ones were installed, and yes, they're all still very happy systems. Have we had issues along the way? Absolutely. Where we've found an issue, particularly those connection panels, we are automatically upgrading all of our existing customers for free. What we have done now is say, yeah, we're done. In terms of hardware for the current model, there's new features coming out, but we're very happy with the performance now. The system's just run. Biggest thing we've noticed, and when you have a system like this running every day with guaranteed water supply, whether it's Greywater or potable, is how fast the Greywater landscape grows. Our fearing is, and it's backed up by others, is what is happening is when you irrigate daily, you get capillary effect. Capillary effect keeps the moisture in the top 4 inches of the soil, 4 to 6 inches. The top 4 to 6 inches is where the nutrients are as well. So if you compare it with traditional irrigation, where people are told to water once every week or 2 weeks, the roots are down deep, there's no food down there. So when plants do have plenty of moisture, plenty of food, they grow exceptionally quickly to maturity. That's one of our biggest selling points. Beyond that, then customers look at, well, is it worth doing? So in terms of ROI, I'm going to skip down fairly quickly. There's examples on the right, and one of our challenges with examples is California is different to Texas. So California is normally drip, Texas still is normally spray. So we have different variations and comparisons. We have big calculators in Excel that do this for us. But to go back to the most basic example, and this is low income, if someone's buying a small house, it might only be $130,000 to $150,000. They still want to have a landscape. The water in Texas is still very cheap at $6 per thousand. The incremental cost to add the Greywater system for the builder was $5,000 more than regular irrigation. The customer, 99% of the time, is financed. That $5,000 extra is costing $350 in interest per year. There is a monitoring fee for the system to keep monitoring, $100 per year after the first 12 months. So the total ownership costs are $450 per year. But those customers are saving $1,200 to $1,750 per year on their water utilities. So quite a good net saving. The other intangible savings are it is an asset value. It increases the price of the property. You don't have to anywhere near as much risk in damage from droughts and losing plants. And this is a relatively safe landscaping method, as in not much happens in terms of damage compared to spray. So almost there. I've actually run over a couple of minutes. I've got volume coming through my earphones, sorry. Our biggest issue at the moment, and I think this is going to apply to all contractors and all systems, is no one reads documents anymore. This is particularly a problem for us with electricians. We had to make a fairly simple explanation. It only runs for a minute and a half. We have similar issues with plumbers. We've had some issues with irrigators, so I'm not sure if that's going to play through down there. So we've done all these guides. Now, that's going to take us another 2 months to finish those. The biggest package of digital content we're doing at the moment is actually a fully 3D house, which shows every stage of 3 dimensions. While I'm here very quickly, I wanted to explain the design focus that we do. Is people just say, well, what sort of landscape can I have? Here is a great example of where you can have lawn without having too much lawn. So instead of sticking with square, you go with rounded surfaces. Your eye makes it think it's bigger than it actually is. That's a big seller with our customers. Last points would be if you want to sell these systems. So how we sell is we go and talk to builders. Yes, we have existing houses as retrofits, but we sell to builders. When the market is exceptionally hot, it is very difficult to talk to builders. When the market is falling, as it is at the moment, it's much easier to actually start relationships with what we call quality above the line builders. They need to now differentiate themselves from the average builder. It's the only way they're going to stay in business. So these builders now compete on the basis of features. Going back to the Cinnamon Shore ones, in one of the discussions last week, the builder that I deal with said, hey, he was talking to someone who went to an investment conference. These houses down there are purchased as investments for rental, primarily for the high tourist season, and then the owners get to enjoy it for the rest of the year. And the biggest message coming out of those investment seminars is you get higher rents if you can show you have basically environmental benefits to the house. So that's an interesting one. Anyway, I have run way too far and long. Thank you everyone for the opportunity. I'm trying to get out of